Rasta. Living off the land, that's his mantra. Name is Bankie Yahsonn. Hear me well. Got a patch of green and a story to tell. One morning peace was the order of day, till a police van came to block the way. Warrant in hand, looking stern and grand. Bankie just lean on his hoe and stand. They asked Farmer Bankie, what you doing here? He said, cultivating what I hold dear. This is my medicine, this is my tea. This is the gift that Jah give to me. They say, but the law don't see it that way. Bankie said the law changed one day. Down to the courthouse, in the heat of the sun, Bankie tell the magistrate, work just begun. I grow for the elders, for the aches and pain. I grow for the young who walk in the rain. This ain't no commerce, this ain't no vice. This is Nevin's tradition, it have a price.
All right, people, we are ready for another edition of the Topiks here on Real Entertainment Network. It's another beautiful Friday evening here on Queen City Nevis. You could be doing anything here in Orly and Liburd, but you have opted to tune into us here on Real Entertainment Network. Tonight I want to say good evening to my people here in Orly. I want to say good evening to my people here in Liburd. I also want to say good evening to my brothers and sisters around the entire Eastern Caribbean. And morning, afternoon, or evening greetings would be applicable to some of you depending on where you are geographically in the space. Also want to say a very special thank you to those who usually log on, whether it's on our Facebook feed, our Twitch TV feed, and or our YouTube platform. We want to encourage you to subscribe to the YouTube platform and click on the notification bell so that you're informed every time we have a program here on Real Entertainment Network. Also, share the link, like, subscribe. This evening, we are looking forward to a very interesting night and session. We have with us our special guest, Conrad Niah Liburd, and our regular co-host, Shabazz Bankie King. And what I'll do this evening, I will allow Shabazz to do his introduction and opening remarks, and then I'll do a brief bio for Niah, introducing him to the platform, and then giving him an opportunity to introduce himself officially to the platform and to our listeners, as we have listeners all over the world. You know, we may know him and, know him, but we want to give him the opportunity to share with those who may not know him and know of him. So, Bankie, greetings, welcome to another edition, our exclusive edition of the Topiks for this evening.
Yes, and good evening. Good evening to you and good evening to our guest, Niah. Greatly appreciate you taking the invitation for being and choosing to be on the Topiks on a Friday evening. And also to those who are tuning in and who choose to listen to us also, Real Entertainment Network. You could be listening to any other media house or just relaxing at your home time in the weekend start. Most people weekend start today, so most relax themselves, but you should have that interest what Real Entertainment brings, so you make sure you find the time, and also really appreciate that. Is very important to be appreciative and stuff like that. So yes, I just want to thank the people who keep coming out and support Mansour's Last Stop and Shabazz Organics Day at Catesby. Greatly appreciate it. If you make a 1 cent today, it's add up. So some people don't even make $1 each day. So whatever it is, we are grateful, and we continue the continued support to carry on my Uncle Man's legacy of and others who make the contribution within the agricultural sector. And today, I learned there was a launch of the Mango Festival, and I was very happy to hear the new CEO incorporate. I think she was one of the smart one above anyone else when it comes to incorporate agriculture and so the importance of agriculture and tourism. But yet we're still not seeing that impact when it comes to tangible and the resources put behind of it. So and at the same time, the premier was there at that press release. So I mean, and he's the commander in chief. So I mean, I'm not sure if she's trying to tell the premier something directly, as her father herself is into farming, and she come from Dominica, and she have that interest in agriculture. So I hope maybe the next time around she might be the minister of agriculture. You never know. But just to say that, just also we had some guests came over from St. Kitts and different places. So I just want to big up Joe's over there at Old Road Station Street. I mean, he and Hollins and her friend the Sweets. Both they came over and visited the shop where they usually get some stories that they usually come there from time to time. My uncle's around, so the people are coming back. They like what's going on there and stuff like that. And also at Fridays, you come and get your cook up, and tomorrow you come and get your car meal, the best car meal and fish, and with the car meal and oxtail or car meal and chicken or whatever it is, and your vegetables and soul food. So just wanna say thanks for all those who come out every Saturdays. Big up man called Cut. I know he's one I think should be giving his advice to the Ministry of Water Department. I mean, he have left a big legacy there, but when people retire, they just send them off. But Cut is someone I think should be an advisor. Also, Will Roy Morton and all them others who come around every weekend, Monk, you know what I mean, and all them other guys who come, and Keith Swanson who come out and support the kitchen there at Mansell's last stop. So enough respect to all those who come through. I also big up my boy Carbo up there. You don't know that forgetting Carbo. And also Dylan Zillette at the top of Codec Road, get your small snacks, open more or less 7 days a week. So just want to say thanks to all those, as I said, who come out and keep supporting Mansa. He have done a lot within the community, and his legacy shall remain. So just want to say thanks again, and can't say thanks enough. Niah, good evening to you.
Good evening, my brother.
Yeah, man. Greetings. Welcome to the topics. As we continue, as I get into this intro for Niah, I also want to take some time out and give thanks to Nevis Islander Water Sports, the folks over there, Plugger, and all the good folks over there at the Holy Water Seawater Taxi service, for charters. If you're going to St. Kitts, if you're going any time between the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis Islander Water Services, they'll take you there. You want to charter to St. Martin or Anguilla or one of the neighboring islands, you can always count on them. They can figure it out. If you want to make a late night move, whether it's 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning, you can call them up and they'll facilitate you as long as they can. Also, the good folks there on the Rocks restaurant, are also under the management of the Islander folks, so you can go on out there and support the good folks there at Islander. Also, Imperial Rides Taxi and Tours, they are also sponsors for the program, along with Shabazz Organics. And we want to encourage folks out there, if you have your small business and you want to advertise with us here on the platform, we definitely reach thousands of people, and so your business can get some coverage as we continue on the program. Well, tonight I want to welcome everyone to the Topiks, where we unpack the issues that matter most to our people here on Queen City, Nevis, and across throughout the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis. I am Yahsonn, joined in studio this evening by my co-host Shabazz Bankie King. Our guest tonight is a man whose hands have shaped metal, whose words have shaped public debate, and whose spirit has long anchored the Rastafari community and Nevis. He is Conrad Niah Liburd, a well-known welder and metal artist, formerly political activist and commentator, radio talk show contributor, and an astute Rastafari elder and musician. From the beach football tournaments and community projects he has helped to organize to the trenchant political discussions he has brought to the airwaves. Niah has always been a voice for the people, grounded in the soil of Nevis and the consciousness of Rastafari. So tonight with Niah, in the studio, we are going to dig deep into a wide range of topics: the SSZ and Destiny Project proposed for Nevis, the cannabis question and the rights of Rastafari, the current political climate in the Federation, food security and the future of agriculture on Nevis, and unseen kits and Nevis, the government's push for stronger economic and trade ties with Africa, the CARICOM saga involving Trinidad PM and acting CARICOM chair, Dr. Terence Jew, CARICOM chair, Dr. Terence Jew, the threat of a U.S. invasion of Cuba, the recent shootings and explosions of vessels in the Caribbean, and the situation in Haiti, as well as escalating tensions between Iran and the United States, Israel attack on Lebanon and Iran. Stay tuned. Tonight, the topics is unmuzzled and unedited. And with that, I want to say good evening to Niah. Welcome to the platform, and you're free to add to or correct anything that we would have highlighted in the brief bio and intro for you. And also, you have the floor now to give the listening public an opportunity to find out a little bit more about Conrad Niah Liburd. Conrad Niah Liburd, the little boy who grew up where, and if you want to go back to him, the little bit of the school story and so on. Just a little brief intro for people who don't know you, and you could give a little bit of your family background if you so desire and so on, and then we could get into some of the issues. So the floor is yours. Good evening. Welcome to the topics.
Yes, my brethren, thanks for having me this evening on this program. Very happy to share my opinions on various issues that affect the people, and of course to give strength to the weaker ones, and as I continue to be the voice of the voiceless. And really, it's important, yes, as you said, to let people know a little more about myself. As a youth born here in Nevis, and have experiences that, of course, would have just shaped my life. Um, I grew up here on island like everybody else. I grew up with my parents, my dad, who was a very astute businessman, tradesman, and so I grew up as a working person. Actually, just the other day I looked at a picture of myself working with my dad only when I was 9, building the MVF.
Hold the mic over.
I look at a picture of myself working around my dad when I was only 9. We were building the MVF, which was a very popular boat that did wonders to Nevis in terms of dealing with the remittances that's been sent back from Virgin Islands to Nevis during a time when it was a very difficult time for Nevis after the sinking of Virginia and so forth. But that's one aspect of it. I was educated here in the Charleston Secondary School. I went on to the sixth form in 1982, and there was a lot of things around me going to sixth form because, as I always said, that I always tell the people that I went to sixth form for 2 years and never really heard my name called on the register because for some reason they did not want me in sixth form. And I'm not here looking sympathy from anyone because it is my experience. But for some reason, maybe I look different, spoke different. My ideology was permeating through my personality, but they thought that not because I was underqualified, I was up in the class all the time, but for some reason they obviously saw Rastafari in me and they didn't think I should be in sixth form. Anyway, I continued and fight great battles. So I was like permanently expelled from school, but I continued to the school. I was the founding member of the Sixth Form and Literary Debating Society in 1983. I'm participated in the first debate they had in Northland. Became second. It was an interesting thing. I think I graduated in 1984, and then in 1985 I went off to England for a while. Returned in 1986 and start my business, Classical Metalwork. Became the first, received the first client award from the Foundation for National Development, an institution run by the government to promote businesses. That was in 1986. And I proceed with my business, employing a lot of youth, teaching a lot of youth the intricacies of welding. As I proceed in 1987, I introduced the African Liberation Day celebration to Nevis, which I undertook for 10 years, from 1987 to 1997. Um, During that 10 years, I actually played a lot of music here in Nevis, in Canada, with my brethren Ibu. And in 1997, I entered the world of politics. I formed a political party called the Working People Alliance, and I participated in the election on that year as an independent candidate, and we did well. We did what we uh, wanted to do. Our expectation was fulfilled, and that was a great experience. After that, I continued with the music, and we had a fortunate situation where a owner of a record company visited Nevis in 1998 and came to my studio and liked the stuff. And so he signed one of the guys who was playing with us and took us all to London to live for a while. And we live in London, and we did some world tours from there. We played in Asia, throughout Europe, throughout America, and we were on that circuit for about 2 years. And in year 2000, the artist get job from the label. He was signed to Creation Records. So basically, I was producing music for Creation Records, a London-based record company, for about 2 years, and doing tours all around. And in 2000, I decided to go back to school, and so I enrolled with the University of London to do a law degree. And I went to England, attended a college called Lansdowne College in central London, a place called Bayswater. And I go through my studies, graduated with my LLB law degree in 2006, returned to Nevis, and in 2006, and of course, still being vocal in politics and so forth, realizing that there was a great division taking place and there was a strong gang culture. So I organized the beach football tournament that brings the youth together. The tournament was held in Cage Bay. It was a real success. We had teams from Conrad, from Newcastle, from Bad Village, from Stony Grove, and they all came together, and there was no fight, no gang related issues, and it was a success. We had a prize of 5,000 for the winner, 3,000 for the second, and I think one 1,000 for the third place team, and so that was a success. And then that was what, we're still around 2008. Then of course I joined the program the M1 Radio, which I'm still a panel member, and I continue working as a welder here in this. Throughout the years, I've trained from 2006 to now. I probably train about 4 welders who have gone on to be some of them my competitor, a female also, which I'm very proud to be associated with her skills and talent, and plays very high in her skill program in the CSS. And so we continue this journey. It's been a colorful life, a life full of deco, uh, meaning decorated from my point of view. And but the underlying thing about me, which I cannot hide from, is my willingness to help, my willingness to advance the youth. I must say, during all this, I've signed a few loans for individuals who wanted to go and study. One in particular, which I'm very proud of. He's now a geologist living in New Zealand, and he knows a lot about geothermal and all that type of stuff. And I could remember he came to me and said, like, I haven't seen my father for 15 years, and I know his mom was, was unable to see. She's blind, still alive, and it touched me too deep. And I just said, let's go, let's go. And I couldn't believe I was about to sign his student loan, and I did that. To be quite honest with you, I've heard nothing about the loan from since then, and that obviously said to me that he honored his obligation, and he went on to be what he is today. I'm very proud of that, and there's also individuals who have gone on to be a doctor who have signed. I'm not sure if he wants to really mention his name, but so basically, the underlying thing in my life was and still always to help and advance um, the good things about people, the skills in people, advance their talent, and and I basically live a life that speaks to value and not even personal success, but being valuable to people, and so it continues being good. I hope that's part of it. I still continue to live this beautiful life anyway, going forward.
Yes, man. Give thanks, and I think you did a excellent job at sharing your story, because there's some things that you actually spoke of that I never knew of, like in the sense that you would have had your challenges in sixth form, and that you were part of the first literary and debating team for Nevis. That is quite some interesting facts to lay on the table. I mean, you said that you guys didn't come first, but you guys placed second, and to know that that is a competition that is still very much highly recognized, by the Caribbean and St. Kitts and Nevis over the years, and Nevis more specifically has been
Yeah, yes,
victorious.
I actually followed the debate, and it happened back then in 1983. The same thing happened. The finals this year was between Nevis and Antigua, and it was the very same thing in 1983. I mean, it may have happened many times during the many years, but and Antigua won. It was I liked the debate. As I said, I was a founding member of that. I used to ask my fellow students to every day you come to school with a different word, because it was fun to speak and use certain words that not even the teacher could have understand sometimes, and it has grown into this really, and I'm proud to be a part of the first step of that endeavor.
And I guess it explains a bit more of why Niah is the way Niah is, in the sense of continue to contribute to the debates, whether it's nationally, regionally, or globally. You still find yourself in spaces where you can present views and opinions that stimulates various debates and controversial issues to some extent, because generally sometimes some of the views that you may highlight might not necessarily be what is accepted normally by many in our society. So um, yeah, I respect that. Um, it's really a pleasure to have you here on the platform. In terms of you're growing up in Nevis, what kind of environment shaped Naya? Like, I mean,
Oh man, I was fully active so active, always getting injured. Um, but one of the greatest thing of my youth is working with my dad, working around my dad. And the truth is, working with and around my dad, I was exposed to politics because my dad also is a founding member of the NRP. So I grew up around, people come to the workshop while I'm being hungry. My dad won't take me home, and sometimes the neighbors really had to come and give me food because dad will stay there for hours on ending, just talking politics with Tim Daniel, Ivan, Stephen Bam, Swanson, Divine Morton, and all these people, and so I grew up in the midst of politics. So when I started the debate in sixth form, one of our first topics was politically orientated, and of course I took that side of it. And so I was told, even when I was sixth form, that government-owned employee. Um, and I was also told that if they do, they're gonna put you to work with some very old people. It's not like I was rude and undisciplined, but I was really dealing with issues that was difficult to confront. The inequality that exists in society, the 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 the, the unequal opportunity that dished out to people because of their background, because of their wealth, the places where society puts you. I was trying to move things around and I realized from a very early stage that, we're dealing with a lot of class distinction in our little society, and that was detrimental to a lot of people with a lot of talent, and there was never really equal opportunity, you know.
So you in your growing up in Nevis, I guess basically you said you grew up around your dad, you spend a lot of time with your dad. And one of the
Yeah.
things he did, apart from the political things, he was a boat builder. And I guess welding was part of his skills as well.
Yeah.
So I guess that could explain why it was something that you eventually gravitated to. But what did welding teach you about life, or what does it teaches you about life? You still do it. So what do you learn from life about welding? What lessons?
Lessons that I learned, I stay in the field because of one, because I love doing it. I love creating things. And I can help a lot of people to be skilled in welding. It's a highly paid skill. But most important to me, it offers me that freedom which I aspire, because even when I went to study law, I thought becoming a lawyer I would have been free, but I realized in the end, no, you're under certain, what can I say, restriction with the system, deeply colonialized, and it doesn't offer me the freedom which I really aspire to enjoy, but welding does, because I consider myself very skilled. I never ever met an individual who do the wide range of things that I do when it comes to welding, the artistic part, industrial and otherwise. But I do enjoy it in a big way, to be quite honest with you. Um, I don't know if I'd ever leave it. The time is coming, but I love doing welding.
I hear that. I hear that. Well, they say if a man could weld iron, maybe he can weld broken politics too. So what what made you enter politics? Because many people criticize politics from the outside, but few step up and get inside. What is it that um,
Well, I was
motivated
also
you?
probably the youngest guy ever in the Federation vying for political office. So I was brave enough to confront them anytime. I was very serious at the time because it was a time I was going through a lot trying to get my son in school who was a dreadlock. I hear people talking about kids going to school now in 2020. Now my kids went to school in 1997 with dreadlocks, and it was a major fight, major fight, major fight. You know. that have actually hurt my kids. And when I reflect on it, I wonder if I did the right thing. Because he still complains about the hardship he's been through as a little boy living on Nevis. Living in Canada. Actually, Mark Vanley was my lawyer on the case, so because I was going to take the government to court and so forth. You know, um, it was a serious struggle, and as I say, it was very easy for me to stand up, not just because of my son, but people who are minimized, who are discriminated against, who are not given the opportunity they deserve because of people in society and human rights. Education is a human right, and you don't prevent a person from accessing education. I was upset because even myself going to sixth form, there was forces who just didn't want me to be in school for no reason other than the they think they knew my mentality. You know, they partly got it right because I was thinking, consciously. I was listening a lot of Bob Marley's music, and I was thinking something completely different. History was very serious to me. History was real. I wasn't just a history student. I was digging. I was, learning from it. I was suffering from it, and it elevates my consciousness at a very early age. I was able to read Walter Rodney work when I was 13 years old. Grounding of my brothers. So, and I realized around me, similar things are taking place. That we were so deeply buried in colonialism. You know, I mean, why prevent people from going to school with dreadlocks? I mean, look at it today. You can't work at Four Seasons with dreadlocks. When I left school, I started doing a lot of traveling internationally because regionally you couldn't travel. You couldn't go to Tortola. It was on in the books here in the Federation that no dreadlock person can come to these islands. And I'm talking about black people. So it looks like our leaders is the last. And only when I come back home, am discriminated again. Or I travel England, Canada, America, and elsewhere, I'm free. I come back home to the Caribbean, and I'm suffering because I'm a dreadlock Rastafari. You know, I mean, after I left sixth form, I applied to schools. I could remember being accepted at Rutgers University in New Jersey when I get my I-20 form to get my visa. I go to all the banks trying to get money to forward my studies. They just laugh at me, you know, because I was a little jealous, you see. But I was able to stay focused and put myself to university in the end. So it wasn't always easy. But it was easy because Babylon is soft still. But it's not everybody
You
who
know,
got that strength. And that's I'm here just to strengthen people and to let them know that they must be counted and never feel otherwise. Very simple.
you know, Naya, it's interesting listening to you share some of these stories and these experiences because many of us growing up, well, we, Bankie and myself, would be younger than you are. We would have been ones growing up, just like seeing you guys and seeing you guys being, so to speak, the revolutionaries because you guys were, out there protesting, defending, what is it that you guys defended. Um, Rastafari was an early influence, and you guys, I mean, back then you're talking 70s, 80s. You're talking back when you had things like the Dread Act in Dominica, when they say you
Yeah,
could have, met a Rasta and shoot him on sight. You're talking about the Coral Bay Garden, events there in Jamaica, where Bustamante would have, said, bring in our Rasta man, who can hold in the prison they can hold in Bourgville, in the mall, sorry, in the morgue, right? And this is the kind of treatment that was meted out to Rastafari back in those days. You were part of that struggle. Nevis at that point might not have had as much in terms of numbers. Rastafari might have been just a few of you guys, but you guys were able to stand up, take the fight, and I could recall very early you guys being the guys who would have seek to keep up things like African Liberation Day. I recall events right there and the library
Yeah, yeah,
apron downstairs the library,
yeah.
the courthouse. Um,
We did it for 10 years,
tell us
man. Yeah.
tell us about a little bit more of that Rastafari journey and how it influenced you. I guess your experiences would have shaped, because based on what you have been saying and sharing some of your stories, I guess yes, you might have been Rastafari, but then the kind of fight and oppression that you were being faced with, like you couldn't help but standing up and resisting the way you resist, because if you didn't, well, you might have died based on how they were dealing with us as Rastafari within that time. So it helped to give a lot more the younger generation, because a lot who might not even know you and know that aspect of you, because we're talking these things now, but the generation who would have grown up 10, 20 years ago would have never seen Niah playing music on the square, and the Treasury Apron and celebrating African liberation and so on. So give us a little bit of that before we get into some other things.
Well, it happens back in 1987 when I decided to have an event that was asked of us by His Imperial Majesty, to really celebrate the forefathers and the founding fathers, the martyrs, and those who have contributed their life to the struggle of black people. And so I was caught up in that in a big way. And so we started doing it in 1987. I committed myself to do it for 10 years, and I sponsored it. I spent my money on it, and we get such a positive feedback from it. I say the government also started to budget it for it as a cultural event, and the turnout was always magnificent. It was very inclusive. It wasn't just Rasta alone, even though we were the organizers, because it was we were committed to spread that consciousness, And but just let me say, even today, I think today marks the 60th anniversary of His Imperial Majesty visit to the Caribbean, and that in itself is one of the most important thing ever happened to the Caribbean and to black people as a whole across the globe, really, because His Imperial Majesty coronation in 1930 have led to a renaissance here in the Caribbean. And you see, those who run government and so they don't respect that. You know, um, the Rasta Revolution have created wealth for the Caribbean. The Caribbean have, is the owners of intellectual property based on the initiative of Rasta people. Um, if you look around today, even here in Nevis, you see how much Rasta people own businesses and so forth, in trucking and backhoe and so forth. But the revolution that take place with the crowning of His Majesty and the coming of His Majesty to the Caribbean, it was like a renaissance. The art and the skills and everything that developed from that through the Rastafarian movement cannot be unnoticed at all. Because when you look at the Caribbean, what do we produce? Most of the intellectual property of the Caribbean come from the Rasta people in their music and arts and so forth. But no one talk about that. Jamaica is built on that, and throughout the whole Caribbean. So I just wanted to highlight that fact that I think today marks the 60th anniversary of the coming of His Imperial Majesty to the Caribbean when he visited Jamaica. And so the Rastafari movement was a movement of decent people, man. But a movement that come in conflict with colonial customs and prejudice. And so they treat us bad, But it had to grow, it had to live, and continue to grow, because you cannot put down something that is good and that is right. And we see everything is coming around today. Everyone is carrying dreadlocks. Before, you could have get your head chopped off because you carry dreadlocks. We are a black country. We are black people. And so, the leaders have a lot to apologize for, especially here in the Caribbean, here in Little Nevis. They are so slow in recognizing human rights and respecting human rights and respecting the fact that people have this different opinion, but they are free to live. You know, for me to go through what I've been through there in 1983 is like, I mean, it haven't dent me in any big way because, as I said, to me they're soft, and I've seen success in what I'm into all the while because I'm a contented person. I don't watchy people. You know what I'm saying? If they're talking about wealth, yes, I'm wealthy. Maybe you cannot see it in material and financial, but I consider myself being a wealthy person because I'm a person of value, because I try to help a lot of people and open doors, and try to basically make the people more aware of their importance that they must be counted to. And so a lot of things that go on in Nevis today is because some people want some people to think their opinion does not matter. And so I'm not sure. I'm drifting all over the place, eh? But
Man, you're good. You're good. You're good.
I'm
So,
drifting
so
all over. But Rastafari for me is very personal, very very deep. When I became, I wouldn't say became a Rasta, but when I give myself to it, I had no. I didn't have a choice. So just let me say that straight up. I didn't have a choice. I was coming out of things that a lot of people don't know about. Um, a particular kind of home, exposed to a particular kind of things. And so Rastafari to me was, if not, no, maybe, I had, sometimes you cannot explain, you know, but it was like, if you don't heal, you won't be of value. So I yield.
Rastafari. So the thing is, as you would have highlighted, because you went back a bit to the history of Rastafari and His Majesty's visit to the Caribbean, and part of the thing that was a challenge for the government then, and I guess putting it into historical context, you would have had us being colonized, so to speak, by the British, and majority of the people would have been uh, whether forced, whether it's directly or psychologically being indoctrinated to support the monarchy, even though it was oppressing them, and the governance structure that they had in place, that it was expected that even though to some extent, you would have had the end of the transatlantic slave trade and all of that, and would have been quote unquote emancipated to some extent. Um, you still had that need for the masses to fall in line or adhere to the monarch, King Charles or Queen Elizabeth or whoever it was. And then you had Rastafari now coming with a philosophy that is saying, we are not respecting King Charles and Queen because these
No,
are the people who oppress us and these are the people who did all of these wicked things to us. We see our savior or grace, so to speak, within His Imperial Majesty, because even without looking to the Bible as some would, to give credence through the Solomonic dynasty and all that, um, just the fact that Marcus Garvey would have prophesied, look to Ethiopia for the coming of our king, and he would have said, well, you see your king through your spectacles, well, we see our king through our spectacles, and so
yeah,
on.
man.
You had that oppression there because it was demonstrated when Leonard Howell would have bought the lands in Jamaica and started the Pinnacle and have his own group and organization, and we saw what happened, what they did with that, and even up to today, his family and descendants are still even fighting to get at least even less than 5 acres of lands that their father would have paid for and owned. And so these are just like sharing some of what Rastafari would have gone through. The other aspect that the society would have had a fear within Rastafari against, because they fear that if Rastafari continued, then their system would have been of no more existence, because nobody would have adhered to King Charles and whatever it is that they're dealing with. The other thing was they criminalized cannabis and then associate, because that was one of the things that Rastafari was very much involved in, whether it is for use and or for trade or for economic means. They criminalized it, and then that was what and is what they still even want to use to put Rastafari in the category of criminals. Now, and I'm going through this to give the backdrop of where we are today, right? And sometimes people have a issue with, because I'm hearing that right now as we speak, well, the Constitution set up to say that everybody could have their freedom for cannabis and St. Kitts and Nevis, but some still have an issue with a special space carved out for Rastafari, not recognizing to me to some extent, or even want to give credence to the fight and the struggle that Rastafari would have gone through for cannabis over the years. Now, as we continue, the cannabis laws in St. Kitts and Nevis, government says progress was made, but some say it is cosmetic reform. Niah, has justice truly been done, you think?
Not at all, actually. I think it's an entrapment. I think that day when they say it was a historic day in the House of Assembly, it truly was a historic day in which they put limitations on people's constitutional rights, put limitations on the way people ought to go about their life, really. All these problems they're having and the problems they will have is because they now realize that the herb was always something of the working class. It was always within the working class, used by the working class. That is where working class wealth. We store our wealth through herbs sometimes, you know? And so they want to take that away now. They want to take that away. And they have realized also, they've been so stiff necked for so long, but now they have realized by, the power, the pressure that exists, that the herb is good. And the herb is just another plant with great medicinal properties. And the herb is good. But they cannot just let it go. Otherwise, they may not make no money off of it. And the people going to make money off of it. And so, most of the thing that's going on, my brethren, is simply economic based ideology. The reason why herb became illegal in the 1930s was because of economics. The reason why the St. Kitts Nevis government play this game when it comes to herb is because they want to make the money off it. And so we're dealing with that kind of scenario, and so they're categorizing, um, segmenting, dividing, plotting, still incarcerating and criminalizing people for the herb, really. All this idea about ganja industry. Well, what are they talking about, really? To be quite honest, I would like you guys to even enlighten me on that, really, because there always been a ganja industry. We used to run it, or we run it all the time. So on to that industry there. Why don't they
Well,
legitimize that industry? What am I talk about? When am I
well,
talking about ganja industry?
seemingly that is part of the problem that we are being faced with, because here on St. Kitts and Nevis, one of the issues that I'm finding is that, okay, we have gotten to this point not necessarily because the government was so willing to make this move and see the need for cannabis to be a part of the stimulus to stimulate the economy. This move and where we are was as a result of the fact that Sankofa Maccabee and St. Kitts would have taken the commissioner of police to court, and it became a constitutional issue. And as at the end of that constitutional matter, the judge would have made some rulings, and amidst all of the arguments that were presented, some of which I am still hearing being touted by the present Prime Minister and the present AG when they're talking about issues like public safety and managing it and all of these things. A lot of these arguments that are being presented presently by the present Prime Minister and the present AG would have been argued in the case with Sankofa and the Commissioner of Police, because they had other defendants. They had the CMO, the Chief Medical Officer as defendants, among other members and top QCs and so on who were on the case. And they presented their arguments. And Judge Ventos would have said in that case that I would have heard all of the arguments that you guys are presented, but you all were not successful in convincing me that these concerns should in any way infringe upon the constitutional rights that the claimant, who would have been Sankofa at the time, had. And Sankofa's arguments were based mainly on two specific areas. One, which would have been his right to privacy, because they would have come to his premises and search his premises and pull up trees and do all kind of things. And then the other part of the argument was his right to be able to possess and use cannabis as a part of his religious rights and sacrament as a Rastafari. And the Constitution provided for freedom of conscience and freedom of religion. And at the end of that case, it was acknowledged that Rastafari is recognized as a religious organization or a religion, and cannabis was recognized as a sacrament. And those 2 points are very critical and very important for moving forward in any other aspect. Now, the government opted to then move ahead, and instead of focusing and zooming in on the two areas that Sankofa took them to court for, they opted to zoom in on medical cannabis, which is not what Sankofa took them to court for. Because like you are mentioning, they would have seen how it's possible for them to make money from the licenses and taxes and so on that's going to be available under the medical cannabis scheme of things. And that is where I think we have some of the issues that we're having. So here is it that you would have, Sankofa would have taken you to court. The judge would have said, well, we give you 90 days to make some amendments to the Drug Act, not to the Constitution. Because the thing was, the defendants had the option of appealing the case. They did not appeal the case. They said that, well, they are going to do what the judge said and make the amendments to the Drug Act. But in their efforts to make the amendments, from what I understand in terms of when it comes to things with Constitution, anything or limitation that you're going to try to do towards anyone's rights when it comes to the Constitution, it has to pass the least restrictive means test, which means that whatever it is has to be the least restrictive ways. Now, when we look at what Judge Ventos, because what Judge Ventos' judgment was that Rastafari have the right to grow, possess, cultivate, trim, and have any amount of cannabis. Any amount. So if that is your constitutional right, and you're going to try to least means, you can't tell me that you are only going to know them because it was Sankofa. Sankofa didn't take them to court as a group. It was an individual. So the judgments were based on individual Rastafari rights. But then you're telling me now as a part of making the amendment that in order for me to benefit, I have to be a part of a group. No, that is not a least restrictive means, especially knowing that historically, especially on Nevis, I think it's on Nevis, we are not known for having a lot of Rastafari groups or authentic Rastafari groups. It's only in more recent times. I know you guys would have had Black Circle back in the day, but you would not have had like the Niah Bingi and Bobo Shanti and these kind of organizations that are now structured like today. So how they're doing it and how they're approaching it, then you're going to leave out a lot of Rastafari who are not any members of any part of these organizations and who might not necessarily even want to be a part of an organization, because we know that majority of the Rastafari, if there are 2,000 Rastafari in St. Kitts and Nevis, I'm just using a number for example, and all of the different groups that are part of Rastafari in St. Kitts and Nevis, you might have 200 or 300 who are members of the groups, right? And so if you have 2,000 and you only have 400 who are members of group, then that means the other 1,000 and something are disenfranchised. And so the majority are being disenfranchised. So are you really doing something to benefit Rastafari in its fullness? Or are you still trying to disadvantage Rastafari? And should the Rastafari have to get a license to exercise their rights? I mean, these are questions that I have. So that one of the questions I wanted to ask in relation to that should a Rastafari have to beg for a license to practice sacramental use?
Not at all. You see, the Constitution gives us all the rights that we need to have as it relates to practicing our religion, unconditional rights. You know, the judge act now just trying to, and it cannot override the Constitution. We ain't supposed to be having to get a license or ask permission in some way or the other to practice our religion. I mean, most constitutions respect that fact. You know, it's tough that that Sankofa had to go through all that, but I guess something has to happen for these people to recognize the right. No, Rastafari is in recognized as a religion by the UN from since about 1998, and that's again to show you how slow these people in these parts are to really respect people's rights and what is going on. You know, because the Constitution gives you the right to practice your religion unconditionally. You know, and so in terms of how much tree does it take to practice your religion, you can't put a number to it. You know, how much are you going to smoke during the practice of your religion? And if you hold us so strict, you cannot hold us so strict. You know what I mean? Because who are you anyway? You know? A religious right is a religious right. We use cannabis as a religious right or sacrament. You know? We don't want to hear nothing about your limitation and we have to ask permission for that. Them things are illegal. And I want to give thanks to people like IRI and his group to really go about these things. Because those guys exercise a lot of patience. And somebody has to do it. But I want to use this opportunity and pay homage to them and still, because I'm not sure if my patience will last that long, because you are trampling on our, it's a human right, important as life to an individual, and you are now encroaching upon it with great limitation. And of course, driven by something else, which is economics, I suppose, I don't know. Or maybe just the hatred of the Rasta people. Just let the Constitution be, respect the Constitution. The Drug Act is the Drug Act. But as it relates to Rasta people, and that's why, again, who is going to decide who is a Rasta anyway? They got a Rasta without locks, They got a Rasta who don't smoke. You understand? And so it looks to me like, The herb just need to be free up. The herb just need to be free up. I cannot be asking too much, you know, if I'm asking for that, really, because how are you going to identify a Rasta from a non-Rasta, really and truly? How are you going to do that? You know? So as far as I check, um, it's not just religious right for Rasta, but it's right for every individual. It's almost like a God-given right. But that is what constitutions are for, I suppose. You know, these kind of what they call um, constitution, codified
No, but
constitution.
you're right, Naya, because the Constitution spoke to rights afforded to every adult citizen 18 and over. So that right is enshrined. What they did or what the government sought to do with that one now, they put that one under what they consider freedom of conscience. And so under the freedom of conscience, what they sought to do, that is where the 5 trees and the 56 grams on your person comes in. So the other carve out now for Rastafari, and somebody was asking on the platform for us to highlight the part that speaks to the provisions that Judge Ventos made in terms of Rastafari. I am going to try to send it to the technician to see if it could be highlighted on the screen. But um, in his what you call it, this position, and I'm glad that you are on with us tonight because you would have had some legal background, some training to be a lawyer and all that. So I know you should have a better understanding and interpretation of the legalese and some of the terms that they use and stuff like that. So I'm just going to go through some of the things and especially the areas that focus on what I mentioned earlier because this person on the wall was saying, yes, on that part of the judgment from the Sankofa case you spoke on just now, can you highlight it and have the text show in on the screen, the part that allows the Rastafarians to cultivate and such? I'm going to try to see if we can do that in a bit, but I'll just read a bit of the judgment. It says, a declaration is granted that Rastafari is a religion and is entitled to protection under Section 3 and 11 of the Constitution. A declaration is granted that the claimant, who is Sankofa, is a person who has been hindered in the enjoyment of his freedom of conscience guaranteed under Section 3 and 11 of the Constitution. Um, a, a, a declaration is granted that the claimant is a person who has been hindered in the enjoyment of his right to privacy guaranteed under Sections 3 and 9 of the Constitution. A declaration is granted that 6.2 of the Drug Act, read with Part 2 of the second schedule of the Drug Act, is inconsistent with and therefore infringes the claimant's constitutional right to freedom of conscience and religion under Section 3 and 11 of the Constitution to the extent to which it makes no exemption for possession of any amount of cannabis for religious use by adults in Rastafari religion. A declaration is granted that Section 7 of the Drug Act, read with Part 2 of the second schedule of Drug Act, is inconsistent with and therefore infringes upon the claimant's constitutional right to freedom of conscience and religion under Section 3 and 11 to the extent which it makes no exemption for any amount of cannabis by an adult. Okay, so I think I read that. Declaration is granted. Okay, so this is the part that they wanted to hear. In Section 6 point of the Drug Act, is inconsistent. Therefore, okay, exemption. Okay, right. So it says the claim on constitutional right to privacy under Section 3 and 9 of the Constitution, to the extent which it makes no exemption for the cultivation of an adult in private place of any amount of cannabis for his or her personal use in private. Paragraphs 4 to 7 are hereby suspended for a period of 90 days from today's date to allow the National Assembly to remedy the constitutional defects set out in this judgment. The convictions of the claimant dated 17 May 2013 for possession and cultivation of cannabis only in relation to Section 6, 2 and 7.1 of the Drug Act are hereby quashed. Declaration is, so basically that's what, the case would have highlighted, that Rastafari have the right to grow any amount, and the judge has given the government 90 days to go and amend the Drug Act, because they claim that nothing, no Drug Act, no International Narcotics Act that they want to subscribe to or hold on to is greater than the Constitution of St. Kitts and Nevis. And that is what Judge Ventos pointed out, that none of that, all of that, so that's what I'm saying, all of the arguments that they presented about when they spoke to things like, oh, it's gonna be problems for peace and safety and all of these things. They made those arguments, and Judge Ventos said, I heard all of this, that you guys would have mentioned, but none of that. So, and he says, let me see this section here where he spoke to them. He says, the Constitution states that nothing contained or done under the authority of any law. So this is what the judge telling them,
Yeah.
So let me apply the reason of Prince to the facts of this case. It is inevitable that the prohibition on the possession and cultivation of cannabis under Section 6, 2 and 7.1 of the Drug Act, by reason of the inclusion of this substance in Schedule 2 of the Drug Act, infringes.
Yes, son, we have to break.
Okay, I'll just finish up here. The claimant's right to privacy under Section 3 and 9 of the Constitution. The Constitution states that nothing contained in or done under the authority of any law shall be held to be inconsistent with or in contravention of this section, to the extent that the law in question makes provision that is reasonably required in the interest of defense of public safety, public order, public morality, public health. In seeking to justify the pursuant of that, he's saying that they were not successful in making the arguments. He couldn't accept those arguments that they're trying to present. They still would have been an infringement on the claimant's right. So, Niah, when we come back, we are definitely gonna get into some other topics and discussions. We still haven't touched on the SSZ and a number of other global issues that we're gonna touch on. But we're gonna take a break and hear from our sponsors: Islander Water Sports, Give Thanks on the Rocks, Imperial Rides, Shabba's Organics. Give thanks for sponsoring and being a part of the topics, and we look forward to having you on when we return.
At Shabazz Organics, we believe real people deserve real food. So we're bringing you to Mansa's Last Stop, a farm where food barriers are removed and legacy is sustained. We believe there's power in picking, so we allow you to decide what leaves the farm and enters your kitchen organically.
Beat the summer heat, come and get your carambola, star fruit, make very nice drink. Come pick them yourself. All the trees them full of vitamin C, antioxidant, build up your immune system. Man's Last Stop. A whole shopping bag for only $10. Half a shopping bag you pay $5. If you get $2, you must get some. Come get your carambola. Don't want to go to wait. Let's go, people.
When comfort, class, and reliability matter, Choose the ride that delivers more. Imperial Rides Transportation Services, where every journey is treated like royalty. From airport transfers, private events, shopping trips, island tours, and executive travel, Imperial Rides moves you in style, clean, comfortable, on time, every time. Book your premium taxi or tour service today. Call or WhatsApp 869-665-8459 or email elandflavas@gmail.com. Imperial Rides Transportation Services. Your journey, our priority.
Nevis, they make it a breeze. Check them at Reggae Beach or Oli Sea Water Taxi Services, and they can take care of all of your movement between St. Kitts and Nevis. If you want charters to neighboring islands, whether it's St. Martin, Anguilla, Statia, you can just check them out, give them a call, and they'll take care of all of your services. And while you're waiting for the boat, if you want a place to just chill out and have a drink and or enjoy, some fresh seafood burger or seafood or any kind of meal, check out On the Rocks. Nice place for you to just enjoy looking over at St. Kitts and enjoy the sunset right here on Nevis. So Orlando Water Sports and On the Rocks here on Nevis give thanks for being sponsors here on the Topiks. And folks, all of you who are listening, if you're interested, you too can have your business advertised here on the platform, Real Entertainment Network. And so you can just get in touch with any of our hosts and or other members of the Real Entertainment Network team. On the Rocks, people, check them out. Tell them we sent you from here on Real Entertainment Network. And also check out the Islander Water Sports. Anytime you're traveling between St. Kitts and Nevis, just go on over to the OLC Water Taxi. Tell them that we sent you from Real Entertainment Network. And people, we're back. We're back with part two as we have our special guest with us this evening, Conrad, Niah, Liburd, and we also have with us our regular co-host, Shabazz Bankie King. And we continue, Niah. There's so much different things that we could discuss, and probably if we get some time, we might get back to the cannabis issue. But we're gonna move on a little bit now to the SSZ. Nevis has seen talks of major developments. SSZ, Destiny Foreign Investment Promises, big money, big headlines, but also big questions. What's your honest view on the SSZ and Destiny and such kinds of projects?
Well, the SSZ Act, with some modification, could be a good instrument that can encourage development. Okay, the Act with some modification can be a good instrument that can foster development. Okay, now the Act is
Okay.
something completely different to Destiny. From
Okay,
my
so I hear that. I hear that, and I just would like a little bit in terms of um, one or two of the things, because you said the act with some modification. With what would you, if you had the opportunity to, based on the act as it is right now, one or two things that you think should be, or you would suggest needs modification?
Well, whatever needs modify, because the truth is the way the act is being presented, and the act is being obviously presented to facilitate projects such as Destiny, and of course, I think the act was not locally penned. I think a lot of it came from the interest in so-called developers or settlers, you know. But the point I'm really trying to make, a special economic zone is nothing new, or an economic zone is nothing new. You know, an economic zone is a place where goods and services are produced or provided, and there are particular laws that tends to facilitate that. It points more towards employment and development of course, intellectual property for whatever company or whatever exists. I myself work on a huge economic zone, which is Berkshire, um, what's it being called again? You know, I work there on a night shift, and it is the biggest in Europe, and it have over 5,000 companies. You know, um, but this special economic zone act as it's been tabled and passed seems to be to facilitate what destiny is supposed to be. So when I say adjustment be made, I know there are things in there that doesn't really point to say what's happening in Jamaica in terms of an normal economic zone with special laws, you know, as it relates to what is produced, as it relates to import duties, as it relates to the price that's been set in the free zone as opposed to in the economic zone. And, you know, there are laws, there are special laws that surround these areas, these zones to encourage production, to encourage employment and the development of human resources, I suppose. But that particular act in sync is because it's been tilted in certain ways, I suppose. I don't have a copy of it right now. To facilitate development like destiny, I said there must be things in it that need certain modification. Now we're dealing with the act. We're not dealing with the proposal or anything that comes from destiny or destiny itself. We're dealing with the act being an instrument that can, if it is properly applied to real circumstance, it can foster economic growth. Now, for instance, if you have a business idea, that and you probably need to have it established in an economic zone. You can expect some special privileges, you know, special privileges as it relates to tax exemption and all these type of stuff. So an economic zone, basically what I'm saying, an economic zone, nothing is wrong with it. Period. Nothing is wrong with it. But an economic zone to facilitate a development like destiny, problematic.
Okay, but is there, from a legal standpoint, a slight difference between what we know traditionally as a economic zone and what has been presented by Sinkits and Nevis? Because from what I would have gathered is that seemingly what we would have produced in Sinkits and Nevis is one of a kind. There's nothing. This was to be like the first of its kind in the federation, and that's why it's called a special
No,
sustainability zone versus
yeah,
a
the word
special
special and
economic zone.
sustainability is the word so special and sustainability is all that's added to it. Sustainable because they want to say they're falling in line with the whole green ideology, with the whole recycling ideology, as and the whole alternative energy ideology. So that's sustainable. Simply is like good practice they're talking about, and that cannot be guaranteed in the Destiny's scenario. But it's just it's almost like a meaningless thing when we're dealing with realism, in a sense. But sustainability and special basically underlines that we would take into account the atmosphere, We take into account recycling. We're going to take into account water and alternative energy, that type of stuff, you know. But it's a zone. It's an economic zone, basically, you know. Okay, for instance, now, um, you can have an economic zone in Sinkit. Did they have one in Sinkit? What you name that area that they refer to? The former prime minister from
By the
Dominica. What
industrial
name?
park, by the industrial park, we see them there. Industrial park.
The industrial park is you can refer to it as a non-special. You understand? Because one, it plugs into the regular current. For it to be special, then they probably would have to produce 70% or most of their current. They probably would have to be doing a lot of recycling there. They probably have to be providing a system where they probably have some kind of water catchment and so forth. But it's just an industrial park. An economic zone is an industrial park. The word sustainable and special only dealing with the consciousness that is going today about the atmosphere and the ozone layer and all this type of stuff, basically. Yes? Am I making sense?
Okay. Yeah, yeah, I hear what you're saying. I'm happy with the differentiation that you're seeking to provide, and
Yeah.
this is why I'm saying that um, when we hear sometimes the politicians talk, um, because from what I would have gathered, this is something that is totally different, and it's
Well,
nothing
that's
like this would have
different.
ever been
But that's what
in
they're trying to
existence.
sell it.
Yes, son.
They're trying,
It's just not different, It's different when you're having a development, want to move 10,000 families. It's like we're not seeing this drift. And then it's still selling passports. There's so much wrong
yeah.
with this whole picture. It's acceptable, like 10,000 families. What we are in fairyland? It's 10,000
Well,
families talking. These are shares. These are shares. These are selling passports. That's what it is, and it's a residential way on your island. This is not selling the typical passport selling like they just sell, and you're not seeing this. These people are living here, with their
you
own
know,
special, not paying no duty, no taxes, nothing. Where you
well,
and I and the USA are paying all these taxes and stuff like that.
I understand. But I don't regard that as a special part of it. That is just
Of course not.
destiny and what they're on about. That is
No,
the
no.
nature of their proposal. That is the nature of
Yes.
their proposal.
This
Okay?
special is
But
just a word used to entertain and fool people, that they can provide up to. Up to don't mean 70%, up to come in 5%. You
but
see?
that being said,
These are words
it's
just
almost
used. These are just games,
unrealistic.
gimmicks.
Special and
Of
sustainable
course.
in it is almost, okay, let us try to look good. Because all the economic zone in the world, it doesn't have special and sustainable in it. So they have no regard for the atmosphere, the ozone layer, the recycling ideology, and so forth. But it's just an economic zone, basically. But this one that they're trying to establish here, by trying to establish a settlement of libertarian, libertarian, you know, I don't think that's what makes it special. The proposal is what is frightening. The proposal is what is frightening. I could understand an economic zone with that kind of modern day thinking, where you have to recycle and you have to provide your own current and your own alternative energy and all that. I could understand that. But what is of trouble to me is the nature of the business that you're in. I mean, this is not a place where you have goods and services being provided. This is a group of people who want to come and settle in the country, you know, not paying any tax. All this are part of the proposal, you know, not paying any tax, having their own what system that they call what they call it, um it's really a city within a city. These are
Well,
people
how you know
yeah.
these things there, and we haven't seen the proposal yet?
Well, look, no, you must understand. The premier came on radio and explained,
But we interview the
and he,
gentleman. But we interview the gentleman. Yeah, son. What do you
so
mean?
you're breaking up a little bit,
You,
Shabbat.
we asked him. But that, yeah, but we interview the gentleman. Yeah, son. So yeah, son supposed to know. We asked him this question. The gentleman said these things. You know what they want. His things.
Look,
No, no,
the
no,
premier,
no.
the brethren,
Uh-huh.
before the proposal come out, don't let nobody fool you. There was understanding. There was not a full agreement on everything, but there were agreements on certain things. One, in our attack. I didn't hear this off the street. I hear it from the premier, and ministers who I sit with on a panel, and they went public with this. They won't pay no tax. Okay? In the initial stages, they question about having their own police. So the premier came on radio and said, no, the police that's going to be there is the regular police that we have around. Now, if they didn't ask about that, the premier would have had to make that statement and make that declaration that the public can settle that one for sure. That was agreed before any proposal. As if they're saying, look, here's where we start. We're not having a tax. Okay? And they give reasons to make us feel like, well, it's okay not to pay tax because they're going to look after from the hospital, they're going to infrastructure, they're going to have scholarship and all this. But they have established from the word go, no tax. We're not paying. So this is not nothing even to do with the secrecy that is surrounding the proposal as we see today. We know that from the start. That they won't change.
Okay, Banky, any questions you have for now?
Well, today. Well, let me say this week. I'm not sure if and well, I just want to touch dialysis a little bit because this seems to be something we go back and forth for nearly a decade again and stuff like that. 'Cause I was speaking to a dialysis patient. 'Cause I really didn't understand. 'Cause I know in the 90s, one of the person were not going, but speaking to one in currently, especially a young person, and knowing, showing me exactly how it works and stuff like that, and going to seeing kids 3 times a week and all this stuff they have to eat and what they are given, and then they have to put in a catheter. But I think they're doing it here now. They get a specialist before, otherwise you have to go over to overseas and all this different stuff, which is a cost for that, $800 for the surgery. And then, but here, what's going on here from understand this is that time money and you have treatment 3 times a week. If you don't have the money to pay, you won't be put on the machine. You got to pay up front. Okay? I have issue with stuff like this. You understand? They still have ferry to catch and all this different stuff. So every week they have is like, even though if you have insurance you pay $250, if you don't have insurance you pay $200. Me not care if it is $1 because the way how money is being mismanaged around here and spend and take Indian Castle since I left 2023 December. You have workers being paid, okay? So no accountability from the minister or the premier or the manager in place. We just had the 30th anniversary of Open the Went. Not one obs come out down there. Okay? But you'll hear Mr. Brand on the next radio station saying all this different stuff come out of down there. He still can't retract that. It's one thing with agriculture, data is collected. Once you harvest something from any estate, it goes through marketing, or it goes through agro-processing, and then it goes through clerical. So documents is being shown. So how people are get paid? You have a team that working in government offices and so and government estate. Now produce nothing, getting paid for making, but you who are paying over $1,000 a week for dialysis treatment, we don't get the money in the farm. People are stressed, and that will kill the people, you know, the stress of the finance that they have to do. You see what I mean? Yet I made to understand now that what was sent in the Alexander chat, that the building a dialysis unit by the gate. I watch a building breakdown, you know, but I was wondering what's going on there. You understand? I watch a building breakdown. So, Virgin, we don't pay for all these things now. Where the money gonna come from? Why these things are not transparent? Nothing changed, you know. When I go through since in the 80s and in high school and in six farms, still going on. Me I go through it, other people go through it. Because we live in a system where if you speak up, you get victimized. The normal thing for me, because me lax don't touch the ground and come back up, you don't mean nothing to me. Me think to me, how nice the system soft. You see? We, them is insecure people who act like that. Because they don't need democracy. You speak, people get offended. And you're only speaking on your right. Now you spoke about your rights, you know. Your human rights. Okay? How people speak about cannabis. Jamari has been trampled on. You hear the premier, anybody speak about it? He's a senior. What Jama do? What me do? Where all those who we're speaking about the Constitution since 1983. What have all of us done since 1983 of using a plant? And being victimized by the churches, the whole community we live in. Madness. Them this reparation have to be paid up. If I didn't stand up and record all these things, the ecclesiastic office would not open up its office, and no one can force no one to register for their sacrament. The act say may, you know, say must, may. If you choose to, and group don't need to be a part of nothing. You can tell all the Christian them that go around here are Muslim, they have to be in a group. If they want to drink, they can't, when they go up and eat the bread, so these people who make this in serious naked, that's what it is. And we praise them and say that they're intelligent and this and that. Make no sense, Virgin. This thing don't make no sense. You see, human rights are the biggest issues we have in St. Kitts Nevis, being violated, and we're going around and talking about cannabis. There, no. And the lady come over from St. Kitts National Drug Council, whatever it is, along with Preacher and Hansel Manners, and they talk about somebody from Nevis, somebody from St. Kitts. What? Hansel, forget Jama, no? And his human rights and my rights. Cannabis. Number one have is alcohol, and the number two is tobacco, and that's not part of the issue. A cannabis we talk about, and smoking. So when sports coming up, the 3rd of May, and other sports coming up this Sunday, nobody gonna let the barbecue grill out this or then, and the chicken grill. So nobody has my guy into sports then. Because we're talking about smoke, you know. So who fooling who? It's either I refrain myself from being a part of this society and keep quiet, or we continue to be 98%, 99% literacy, but just being duped by the people who put up nothing, you know. You dig? It's crap. You're telling me if I'm in my car smoking my cigarette or my cigar, you don't give me a $500 ticket? I'm going to pay that. So who may disturb? Who am I disturbing? You see? Thing don't make no sense. Thing don't make no sense. So the premier no whole like smoke a cigar, and those people go on the beach around and smoke the cigarette and get all these guests and all these tourists a $500 ticket. Really? Am I supposed to let them out? So my brother have to grill by Batman. A Saturday time, you know, or Friday time, because they can't, you know, for barbecue and all these things are supposed to be banned then. All these seafood festival coming up, that community event keeping for the government keeping, them they can't keep again. Can't smoke. all this car up and down with all the junk of smoke, no smoky be. So which is it? Which way we really going?
We always
These are stuff we
been
need.
very extreme down here on ourselves. As I say, we meet out the harshest punishment on ourselves. Um, this idea with all this no smoking this and no smoking that, it doesn't make real sense to me, to be quite honest with you. Uh, I think they're doing all this because of the same ganja thing and the prejudice that is always meted out against ganja. There are times I'm lost for words against, when it comes to this ganja thing and what they're trying to do. It always bring me back to the Constitution, especially for Rastas, and the fact that you cannot decide who is a Rasta, then you're really messing with people's human rights, generally, you know? But I wanted to comment a little bit on the dialysis thing, which is very far reaching to me because I have family members who tend to suffer from it. And since 2008, I've been an advocate for a dialysis machine on Nevis. And I've heard at one point the premier said he's not just going to get one, he's going to get seven. And that was back in 2008, 2009. But it always puzzled me to know in 2026, our people have to take a right to think it, to be, to go through the procedure. Um, I believe an apology is demanded because it's not easy. I know people who've been to dialysis and live quite a normal life. Normal life. They go and get the treatment and get back to work. But here you have to deal with the circumstance of traveling to think it, traveling to think it. And if you need immediate treatment, you probably will die. If there's an hurricane and no boat to run, you probably will die. Um, that is something really and truly I cannot accept. And sometimes I hate to the way we think of politics every time we speak towards certain things. But this is something that I believe the families deserve an apology when it comes to this. And it really breaks my heart because I had family member who actually died in St. Lucia because they had to go there and live to have access to um, the dialysis machine. So if they're building one in Nevis right now, I'm so happy. I'll be very, very, very happy for that. But at the same time, I think there should be really and truly an apology to the people who have lost family members and for the people who endure the difficult situation of having to journey to think it 3, 4 times a week and of course deal with the interruption of their livelihood um, to be dialysis, um, to go to the procedure, whatever the term is. Um, I am not sure who is funding that one, and I do hope that the patient will have free access to that dialysis machine. And because once upon a time it was told that there was one political party and our people got dialysis machine here. And just through politics, it was never used in the light of so many people suffering from kidney failure. It was just simply never used. I was told in the early stage that there was nobody trained to do it. And that was back in 2008. Now it's 2026, man. There's still nobody trained. What is going on? Sometimes we let politics overrule, lives, and so we're building another one today. But just 10 years ago, we watched and see one that was bought by the people of Nevis to just stay there and disintegrate and run down. And so I hope really and truly that it's a dialysis machine that they're trying a dialysis center. They should hurry up and realize work is going on during the night. And wherever they're getting it from, wherever the funding comes from, I would really like to see that be happening in a big, big way, to be quite honest, you know. As it relates to agriculture, man, I think Nevis is going through one of the toughest time it ever experienced when it comes to agriculture. I don't know, but if you talk to other people who is responsible, they would make it sound differently. But I don't think we are doing good at all in agriculture. I don't think we are very serious about this food security. I don't think we're going to come close to meeting the target which we always talk about. Um, Again, when we talk of destiny, we wonder about the usage of land. You know, we wonder about putting land to effective use for the people, one, to live, two, to produce agriculture products. And, um, and when we think of also destiny, not paying no tax from now until eternity, well, what is going on? You know, I think we move away from the destiny thing pretty fast. But to me, it is a major thing that is about to happen, or and we hope that it doesn't happen. But the whole settlement of, of this massive group of people in Nevis. I'm very much ashamed to be a Nevisian when people call me from from Canada and England and America about this thing. And the benefit and the way it's been introduced to the people is everything that seems to have gone wrong with this destiny thing so far. And it has created a lot of doubt, a lot of skepticism as it relates to the trueness of the politician. It's been done in secrecy. It continued to be in secrecy. You know what I mean? The development proposal haven't been aired, ventilated to the people. Just the other day, some people was invited to a meeting. They were asked to sign an oath of secrecy. And I don't know how can they report back to their group when they're asked to sign an oath of secrecy. And so I never heard something so confused, so obfuscated, like this destiny thing. It's really an embarrassment. It's an embarrassment to the people who need it. Truly, it's an embarrassment to the government. And I don't know why it turned out to be this way. Because yes, we need to see development. We need to see Nevis advancing. You know, we need to see a bigger population in Nevis. But why is this have turned into such almost like a mockery? You know, I don't know if it's who presenting it, who is trying to sell it, who represent the people of Nevis in this matter is a big question. And I think this particular stage that Nevis is going through right now, one would have hoped that we would never get this international um, reviews that is so negative, as one individual pointed out. The fact that now we are well known because of this impending destiny thing, we should use that opportunity of being well known to the good of Nevis, really, and try our best to prevent anything like the destiny um, group and settlers to come to this country, because it's almost going to be like Israel and the West Bank in the end, you know. And a lot of things they're talking about people can vote. Imagine you bring in 10,000 people in your constituency and you don't want them to vote. Well, who are you trying to, you know? I mean, and then there's this other talk about, well, the fact that they're going to be living over there in the zone, the address cannot be used to be registered as a voter. That seems to point to the fact that they are not operating under the Constitution of the Federation, because there is nowhere in St. Nevis that there exists a place that cannot be used as an address to register as a voter. So I believe that the people has been belittled as it relates to this destiny thing in a big way, totally belittled, totally bribed. And I just hope that we can really be honest to ourselves and some kind of trust can be reclaimed, because who to listen to now as it relates to this destiny thing, you know? Those who are selling it to us have truly confused us, and it's belittling because they think that we not gonna head. Only them alone went to school. Everybody else went to Saturday school, and they went to regular. It's a problem. The destiny thing is a problem. You understand? And of course, it is private land. People do what they want with the land. You understand? But at the same time, look, the other day a man tell me up and down, he's trying to find piece of land to buy. 4 years, he can't find piece of land to buy. Affordable. He went to Antigua in 2 weeks' time. He get piece to buy in Barbuda. You understand? And so the people need land. The people need to be assured that we can have a family and space. The government itself is going around buying very expensive land to put down their housing project. If the land over there is so cheap, buy the land and put in a road, even a dirt road, you know. But there's a lot of things, man. This thing that they call transparency is so lacking here. And again, to belittle a people I mean, they always say we're 98% literate. It's one thing, if you rule a people if you keep them illiterate, better. You rule them better if you keep them illiterate. So don't bother think you're going to educate people and fool them all the time. You understand? You're making a big mistake. And too many people is educated enough to realize all this stuff. Uneducated people yet to realize that the whole explanation is confused and it's just too obfuscated, just too confused, really, to be quite honest with you. I am not convinced that there's anything good in the destiny thing producing personally. Some guys have some big truck and some excavator, and they maybe owe some money, and they want it happen quick. You understand? You know, you know. I mean, I'm a welder, and maybe could get some jobs out there and so forth. But I don't just think about me. I think about needs. I think about the future of people. I think about accommodating individuals. And not just individuals, but those who have made Nevis their home. And it looks to me like, I mean, we're dealing with a scarcity of land because there's a lot of land owned by a little bit of people. And wherever you find land that can be developed, I think government should act on it in the interest of the people. To provide homes and villages. I mean, look at Cherry Garden. Look at all these other places that are developing. Why not? So that's an option. I don't know. I suppose a lot of money being passed to some people somewhere along the line. I didn't get none. I don't.
I hear that. I hear that. And destiny is quite an interesting topic, and I'm glad that you got an opportunity to express a couple of points on that because we did begin talking about SSZ, and I didn't quite give you an opportunity to delve a little bit more into the destiny side of it because I did ask about that as well too. So, people. We are having a very interesting discussion with Conrad Niah Liburd, who is our guest for this evening. Want to say thanks to Islander Water Sports and On the Rocks, who are sponsors for this edition of the Topiks. Islander Water Sports over there at the Wally Seawater Taxi area. They take you over to St. Kitts, 6 to 7 minutes. You're on the other side. If you want late night charters, they're definitely available for you. If you want to go to the neighboring islands, St. Martin, Anguilla, Statia, they can organize to get you on that side as well too. And while you're out there waiting, you can enjoy the sunset or enjoy the lights overlooking the ocean there in St. Kitts on the rocks, and enjoy some of their wonderful drinks and or culinary that they put together for you. Whether you're a visitor or you're locals, the prices are very much affordable and reasonable, and so you can take your family out, you can take a friend out, you can take your children out and enjoy some time there at the on the rocks there at the Oli Seawater Taxi area. I'm gonna take in a couple of comments on the wall. and I want to allow folks to, if you want to call in, you got a couple more minutes still, and we can give you an opportunity to call in and weigh in on any of the discussion. The number to call is 1-869-662-7196. That's 1-869-662-7196. And Real Entertainment Network, help us out and please hit the thumbs up button. Cyfroy Phillips says positive platform. C. Gaskell says good night, my brothers. Thank you for the teachings. Oliver Liburd says hi, good night all. Just coming in. Mighty Servant says points to note. Judge Vento's ruling was for the religious use of cannabis and not for the trade of cannabis for commercial purposes. I did highlight that his ruling was more or less in relation to the religious aspect and also for the personal use aspect or privacy aspect. And it was the government who opted to focus and zoom in on medical cannabis, which was not a part of the case that was brought by Sankofa to the court. So we did highlight that. Mighty Servant said again, the government position was voluntary compliance to the ruling. My firm belief is that they did so because it was an election year and this was a hot button topic. Okay. Mighty Servant says, I hold the view that the word special added to the economic zone is to award them a particular set of legal power to operate outside of the normally civil operations of the country. He also said that the sustainable aspect, I believe, speaks to them being awarded full control over sourcing of the resources in that zone. Okay. Booba Love says, a blessed night to the entire panel. Big up the brothers, Bankie Yahsonn and brother Niah. One love. Booba Love says, agriculture is not even a discussion until they allow farmers to protect themselves from the monkey invasion. Caribbean Queen says, sending love to brother Niah. Booba Love says, a new state in the federation that will be a replacement for the NIA. Caribbean Queen says, are some of the talk about the order and operations of Destiny Project real in terms of written documentation or just rumors? Mighty Servant says, secrecy seems to be the thing in Nevis when it comes to government functionality. Destiny is one thing, but I'm more pissed that there is no public awareness as to what is being built at Alexandra. Booba Love says excavators can be used to build new roads on Nevis. They don't need to become opportunists. They already have the ability. Just be patient and allow some to expose the richest of Nevis. Burby Jones says the people have been bamboozled by the politicians continually, and why the premier, as the learned lawyer he is, keeps saying there are no conflicts of interest with the Destiny Project. LOL. Over on the Facebook wall, we have some other comments over here. Ruthlin Hill says, good evening from Florida. Burby Jones says, hail up Kings, bless up Niah and the guests. And good night all. Kevin Hanley says, good night guys, happy Friday. Kevin Hanley says, hope you guys are doing well.
Yes, big up Kevin.
Says, good evening all. Olivia David says, good evening. Burby Jones says, Yahsonn. Okay, so I read that one already, and I think I tried to highlight that. We were not able to get the text because I didn't really copy that and send it earlier on, but on the next show we probably might be able to deal with that. He says, well, if the judge gave the government 90 days to amend that drug act and they didn't do it, did anyone take the government back to court to ensure that this is done? And if not, why not? Personally, we should not wait until events happen. Coming out of that Sankofa case, the government had to be made to obey the judgment of the court.
What was the problem there? That was a big problem.
Yeah, I guess that was part of the problem.
Yes.
Industrial side, I guess it says it's funny that the Destiny Project wants to utilize the public benefit option through the CBI, but the thing about that is that the whole area will stay owned by Destiny a private developer, because the development itself will be done through the CBI by a private developer, and it will remain privately owned. It won't be turned over to the government once the development is completed, like the prison project and the proposed Bastia High School now. Laurie Wharton says good evening to all. The Yeah, go ahead.
Let me say this, Yahsonn. The hospital wing that is over X amount of square footage, that monstrous building behind there, that going on for soon a decade. If I can recall, I stand to be corrected, ain't a dialysis unit supposed to be accommodated in that area? So if you're going to be breaking down a structure that have built less than 10, I remember that structure to that, okay, and some work done for it for COVID and stuff like that. So you brought down that day, so to accommodate a structure that's supposed to be a part of a structure already. Which so what mean that structure now gonna finish no time in the near future. Why they doing this? Because that don't make no sense to me. Why you're gonna break down a building and then when you go back upstairs to communicate the building and mash up? Where that building again now, a different area, other guy upstairs. So if something is being done, my virgin, I shouldn't learn by someone telling me it's I watch it, I want to know what is it. I have to wait for someone telling me this was sent in a hospital chat and it's a dialysis unit where no one's speaking of it or coming to say, well, how this project is being run, how much unit is going to accommodate, who will be the person manning the building. It's different. This is something complicated. So why you don't have town hall meeting to accommodate the people who want to be a part of it? Because speaking to a dialysis patient today, and it's just because people are really in stress, and I don't think the people in the healthcare system understand what is going on over the last years, how much people have been died from this thing, and to hold in this
So?
thing as like it's that what?
You think they
what?
don't understand? You think they don't understand?
Well, what I figure is that death is a part of how they see life, and people will die. So, they see us as sheep and goats, and this animals, as we as heard, we are commodities. So if you die, so there's an extra
You
that
know,
I don't know about it.
sometimes,
That's
Bankie,
conclusion. That's the reality.
as I listen to you, sometimes I really wonder, and I listen to the frustration in Niah's utterances earlier on when he spoke to the dialysis, and he also when he spoke to the Destiny Project. But there's some points because like he was mentioning, Niah mentioned that he don't think enough consultation was done, and a lot of this is being done under secrecy, right? But then we hear from the premier, and the premier is touting that he would have done extensive consultation with the people of Nevis, and this is a discussion that they would have exhausted, and these are some of the words that were used. They've exhausted. There's no other project that would have been given this level of consultancy and so on. So these are the arguments. So we, the average people, are saying this here, but then you have
The owner himself said he was a secret when he was buying a plant for years. So that alone said everything. So the people don't have to say nothing else. So what makes the owner is done spinning gutty and say everything else.
So,
So the people say the whole
one
water, he
thing.
could just make himself sound good. But it make no
So we hear
sense.
one, but this is the thing. We say sound good, but it's not necessarily sounding good, and this is why at the end of the day I kind of have a problem with my people, because we are seeing this in them. We can confront these things as we are saying, but then at the end of the day, that same guy who would have said, well, we would have exhausted all of the consultation, would say, man, ignore the noise. And at the end of the day, the people ignore the noise and they still put them back in office to do the same thing. So when we have a people who are still seemingly functioning in that way, it really makes you have to wonder, because we are expressing the frustration, we are saying that these things are not happening, but then they are giving a total different impression. Like, for example, go back to the agriculture aspect a little bit here. I know Niah was supposed to go on a trip, but I don't know if Niah got the opportunity to take that trip yet. Because as you spoke earlier on about the Indian castle
God.
scenario, I remember Niah challenging one of the
Oh,
ministers on a program, and he promised to take Niah on a trip to visit down here because Niah told him that he went maybe about 3 months ago, but he was saying that things are happening there. I don't know if Niah took the trip and he could give us an update, but these are some of the things that, like you said, they should be real. And you are the one who would have been down there. You know how down there was, and you managed down there. And you know to yourself that it is nowhere close to what it was when you were there, right? And I don't
the
know how
last time I
recent you would
was
have
there,
been
right?
there.
The last time I was there, and that's
How
over a
long
year
ago was that?
ago.
Over 5 years. Okay, so you can't talk then right now
Over
because
a
based on what the
year.
minister said,
And
things
I
are
have a,
happening recently. So I
what
can't
was
hold you a
there.
year. I can't hold you a year ago. Anyway, go ahead though.
Virgin, I communicate with people in the department and the ministries every day. They call me for my stories. When I come here and speak, Mr. Speaker became like to talk. I communicate and give information. No one can number one. Any data need to be fine. You go to the marketing
Uh,
division. I go to agro process and ask what come from Indian Castle. And the it must be on paper because the manager must put it on paper. And it must go to clerical. And the way we're supposed to go upstairs to the PS office, so it's a trail you have to follow. And that is also anyone who speak, tell Brand, collect the data from anywhere in the department. It will be there to show. My data is there to show all the time. You know, and monthly reports, I get a monthly report. You want to left. You want to bet, but they might get paid. So that's what I'm saying. This dialysis unit, no one should have to pay Virgin. The minister select his best friend and put him down there, Mr. Reed. Jeff will not do nothing, doing his own work. But the minister not upset with that. He not upset with me when I come here and speak the truth. But he's my servant. All the ministers is my servant in a virgin. Every one of them. They are our slaves. We are not their slaves. They chose to take the work to work for us. So how we are bowed down to them? No. Well, I rather they stay in the feelings. But we're gonna have to rise up and get out of this timid mentality or docile mentality where people are pressed younger for the truth, and the police officers then keep doing the same way and abuse it, right? Virgin, no one gonna infringe on my rights, and I gotta raise my children to be the same way. And the ministers them advantaging the citizens along with just what the ministers them do, and the same thing the police them do.
but
Those with
Banky,
authority are infringing on the people's rights, my virgin, and robbing the citizens from all this stuff because after people working in that, no, is no accountability. We're not holding the minister accountable, and the same thing the workers and them, so they're canning us, they're raping us. Well, me not taking no rape, So me ain't taking the rape there. So you see me here speak, those who take the rape, cause rape it is, that's what me call it. Cause rape the raping us. You see? So I ain't allowing that. Me a fight and I resist. But someone just lie down and take the rape and then so we not gonna choice what we gonna do. Virgin, I remember them people the little gathering we had the other day when we went in town, the peaceful protest to march against the on rights and earlier. And people come this week by me after more now because me don't want to get victimized because I more for the government. Grown men, grown women. So how the children gonna look at them? People listening to children is them timid, docile because that's what they see. Weak parents. My children know what time it is, You see what I mean?
but you see,
Nah,
Banky, part of the problem that we have is the political climate that we find ourselves in, especially here on St. Kitts and Nevis specifically, because you see when we have, yeah,
so let me take this car.
we'll accommodate the car, take the car, but I'll just finish the comment here. When we have these kind of discussions, right? Let the caller just hold on a second. When we have these kind of discussions, it is taken that you are supporting the
Let
opposition.
me let car know what maybe the car not gonna money, you gotta talk to let me get in the
No,
car.
let the
Hello?
caller. Right, yes.
Yes. Um, you're live,
You said something there that prompted me to call.
Yes.
Very important.
Put the phone closer to the mic, Banky.
Hello?
the government, they are not our slaves.
Mm-hmm.
They should be held accountable.
Yes.
Put you to the fire.
Mm.
They are not there that our slaves.
We're the sheep. That's what treat us.
And they are not our slaves.
So what are we to them?
Because we are the government.
Of course.
The people who manage.
Yes, definitely. Yes.
I just took offense to say the word slaves. They are our slaves. They're not.
I understand. Respected.
They should be held accountable for every action taken.
So where they are not hold accountable?
Well, I would say this program, people looking at the road, people in shows, people questioning, coming. That's a process in the world in the government. Sometimes it takes a long time. As old leaders say, take time to find an answer, but
yes.
You know. With your education.
Yes.
Going in a democracy, and it's not everything government does, everybody's gonna like. But I don't think I want to hear that the government, at least not the government, don't think it's slaves. They're not my slaves, and I'm not their slaves.
Appreciated.
That's I agree.
Yeah, my respect.
Respected for their views.
Yes.
The government, those who manage the government, those who are elected in the government, and those who work in the government service should be held accountable. Just like if you're employed in any public space.
But we know that happening.
It's happening. Like, it happened, but it's happening. It just have to be consistent.
Yes.
And it have to be fair across the board. Balance.
Yes,
Yeah.
Yahsonn, that was a positive call. They want to thank the caller for that. Greatly appreciated. Go ahead, Yahsonn.
Yes, just show how positive it is, because no, listen to me. And we all have our views and opinion. The caller have his view and his opinion, and I'm going to share mine. My opinion is that it's like potato patata, because a servant and slave, I mean, they have kind of changed it from slave to servant. They are our highest paid civil servants.
Yes.
So they are our servants. I mean, you may take offense to the word slave.
Well, I'm not sure if they are civil servants.
They are our highest paid servants. The point that you are trying to make, Bankie, is that they work for us.
Of course.
And I think that is the reality, that they are not our bosses. You are trying to highlight the point that they are not our bosses. They work for us. We, the government, we, the people, according to our democratic system, how it is structured, we are their bosses. So if there's any servants or slaves, so to speak, it will be them, because they work on behalf of us. So I get the offense of the caller, and I hear the point that he's trying to make. But as I said, potato, patata, that's how I look at it.
Well, of course, because we are going to see things different, so respect the caller views and how we see things.
Yeah, you can weigh in as well if you want to. I mean,
yeah. I mean, I listen. Yeah.
Okay.
Accountability is an important thing around here. Let me just say, really and truly, that we could do a lot better financially, as an island. Okay, but I think there's a lot of things that go through the truth, and it's become almost like a culturally
Niah, hold the point, Niah. Hold the point. Caller, good evening.
Yes or not too. I don't want to have the point, but I want to say, to be of service is an honor. To be of service is an honor.
Yes.
It could be an honor. It's degrading.
Yes, sorry. All right, go ahead, Niah.
I was saying that we can do a lot better financially from a government standpoint. A lot of things happen out in darkness, quite honest with you, and we sometimes not on about value for money. So I think accountability within the civil servants is something that I would really ask for be happening in a big way, to be quite honest. Sometimes the things I hear, I can't believe. And we're dealing with public funds, mate. We're dealing with public funds, you know. You go to the hospital and there's a shortcomings there. It's because maybe in some other areas of government, money is going down the drain, you know. Um, and so accountability, yes, yes, in this, you know, small country. And I'm one who always believes that Steve is not that easy to manage, to be quite honest with you. But when I think again, I said, well, what I believe more accountability will make it easier to manage because we will have more access to funds and and a more even spread of government resource. I suppose should be happening, and so we are lacking in that respect in a big way. Well, I don't want to point the finger at any particular department, but sometimes, Lord of mercy, you know, I mean, it, money's bleeding. It looks like because just the way government is run, it looks like I think we could do a lot better in that respect. You know, as I said, I don't want to be specific. You know, and I hope if there's a change and whenever a change comes. And even with this particular administration, I really think they should try and do better in terms of managing the public funds a lot better for the benefit of the public.
Yeah, man. Enough respect, and Niah, you know, we would have so far exhausted, 2 hours, and so what we're gonna do here is give you an opportunity eventually to wrap up. And accountability, and the point of accountability, yes, we do have to keep those who we elect their feet to the fire. Like I was pointing out earlier before the caller came in, though, one of the problems we have is the fact that when you do here, because of the petty parties and politics, and we only have two parties, so to speak, generally when you speak and you seek to hold those who are elected accountable, then they try to brand you as, supporting the opposition. And so you need, in the accountability now, we need to have more platforms such as these where there's no bias. There's no bias, and we are
That's
just
right.
people here who come and speak our mind, because none of us are tainted and associated with any political party, even though, and this is part of the problem as well, even though we are not, just because we find ourselves in a position where sometimes we have to critique and hold them accountable, then we sometimes are placed in the category where they say ignore the noise, and they want to taint us as something else when it is so far from the truth where that is concerned. Um, so that in itself is a challenge that we have to deal with. Niah, I think you would have done, excellent in terms of, addressing a lot of the different issues that we would have brought up. There were a number of other issues that we could have gotten on the table as well, because we ain't even get to touching the government and their move and quest towards making that connection with Africa. I'm sure you'd like to, touch base on that as well too. What's going on with the threat of Cuba and USA trying to want to take Cuba, and bombs blowing up in the Caribbean, and we're not really hearing anything from our elected leaders and so on. So a lot of these issues, still we would have to come back and address. And I'm hoping that, you would be willing to come back on the platform with us again, and we can do maybe a part 2 or 3 and follow up on some of these issues as well. I'm going to give you an opportunity to give your wrap up, and then I'll give Bankie an opportunity to do that, and then in my wrap up I will respond to one.
Get in the comment and you wrap up.
Okay.
You get in
Yeah.
with the last of the comments and then Niah wrap up. Yeah.
Okay, so let me try getting the last of the comments here. Okay, so bye. A lot of comments came in I didn't realize. Okay, let's see. From here, the Premier Minister of Health is not making public declarations on on the new hospital project, because he said he has to put the health care on hold to finish the cultural village, and people accepted it. Bobby Jones says, what the police do with a person's cannabis plants when they raid somebody's backyard and destroy their trees. Well, the short answer is Burlby Jones. It is alleged that they destroy them and they, in some cases, burn them. But we do hear some other rumors sometimes that they return on the streets in other forms. So that's my response to that. We don't have anything in place to truly hold government managers accountable. Those are the things we need fixed. Is it really so, or is just that they know that we are docile people and they take advantage of the fact that we are not necessarily that type of people that would kick up and march and protest and so on like
Yes,
other people would?
but everyone in a management position, they got to be assessed for increments and all this different stuff. Because there are other people above, so those who are assessing them entertain and lie on these and all these farms and give
Well,
them
well, if
a tool and all them different things. You see,
well, if those
so you
if
must be
those who
assessed.
are if those who are
Okay,
assessing themselves need to be assessed, because like you have failing ministers of government who are not doing work in their areas and they get away with it. So if they could get away with it, how would they want to punish those who are below them who are not doing what they're supposed to do anyway still? So I mean, these are some of the things that we have to deal with. Lynetta Daniel says, whatever they are called, they were elected to serve and protect the people's interests, not their own. Mighty
yes, sir.
Servant says, speak of Rastaman. Forget about the way they brand you. Speak the truth. Speak it. Bobby Jones says, well, Niah,
Give
these
thanks.
guys had the money from the CBI, from the inception. Think it's a Navy should be tip-top shape. Of course, they mismanaged the money. And those are the final comments. So, Niah, as you would realize, we didn't have a lot of callers, but the conversations on the thread, demonstrates that people are listening, people are paying attention, and, we want to tell all of you who would have contributed that we truly appreciate your opinions and your views. You make a part of the show, and that's why we try our best to, as much as possible, include your comments. When we can, sometimes we do miss some, and sometimes based on the conversation, we overlook, but it's not intentional. But we really want to make sure that your contributions is read and accepted, and we want you to know that we do appreciate you listening to us and sticking with us, because you could have gone to do a lot of things. We're living in a world now where attention span is very short. Most people want shorts, and reels. To have some people sit down and listen to a talk show for 2 hours, it's it's huge. So for you guys sticking with us and commenting and being a part of the discussion, we truly appreciate it. So Niah, with that said, I'm going to give you an opportunity to make your closing. And like I said, I hope it's not the first and the last. We hope to have you back if we call on you. I hope you're willing to accept and say, yes, we're coming. I'm coming. So your closing.
Yeah, man, I'm always willing and able, always available to be involved in this kind of conversation. Conversation that would uplift people, that would add some clarity to their very confused or complicated mind. Um, you know, what I would like to say is that we got a solution. Platforms like these coming together on issues like these. The people has the power. We're living in a democratic country. The people does have the power. I think if we can make 1 + 1 + 1 incline every time we can come on the air, it makes a difference, really. So platform like these, I would like the item to know, say that the item is doing very special work. There are times you're going to
Give
get a
thanks.
feedback, sometimes negative, sometimes positive, but just remember that Babylon is soft, the system is soft, man. We got to help those who really find it difficult to get along. We got to encourage people to find within themselves that ableness, that ability, that soundness to develop. We got to try and clear the path for some to make it easier for them. Along the way, in a general sense, we got to help in a positive way to enlighten the youth them and to also be a good example to them, really, going forward. In terms of politics, be a good example. Try to clean up the political culture, which seems to be going out of hand in a big way. See things like transparency now take on a different meaning. Corruption now takes on a different meaning. It looks like they adjust the meaning to these words to suit their convenience. And so we have a role to play. We have work to do to make sure that the youth them get it right and understand what's going on. We got a future to preserve for the young ones. And so I think we're busy. We're busy, uh, and we just got to make sure that we continue with hard work. But in the midst of it all, we're living in one of the most beautiful places in the world. So, you got to enjoy what you're doing. And in terms of your personal life, but at the same time, enjoy what you're doing in terms of elevating people's mind and standards and so forth as well. You know, I want to say thanks to the item for having me. I want to say thanks to those in tune to us by the various means. And I do hope that we can come together again going forward. I hope my example, as I spoke about myself tonight, would be of some strength to some, and some guidance to some people. As Rasta people are good people, and not because we sometimes go against the grain of what's expected, knowing that what's expected something lavish, colonial. Be prepared to change, be prepared to open to other opinion and other ideas, because there exists. We're now looking more towards Africa because America go on like they don't want us. Now, if America was going on like that, we probably would have been looking to America all the time. And that's the point we're trying to make. That there are things to know about places, people, and things. Don't close your mind to what is coming to you all the time. Um, and thank you guys once again. Thank you guys.
Yeah, man, enough respect, Niah, we definitely appreciated, you being here and the conversation, the information you brought. I mean, you talking about yourself. I learned a lot from, listening to you and your experiences this evening. And I'm sure if you have touched me, who know you, before, but didn't know all of that, imagine others who probably listening and hearing for the first time and all that. So I give thanks and I really look forward to having you back so we could have further discussion. So I'm hopeful that Bankie will touch base with you again sometime soon, and we have you back on the platform in the not too distant future. Bankie, you're closing.
Yeah, before I go, just get in the last couple comments that came in there, and then I'll go.
Okay, so the last couple of comments says election is the assessment of government ministers. Bubba Love says, so we are docile or we bright? I always hear Nivisions are bright, yet we still cannot open our mouths and speak. Donna too says, I hope that they will be successful in establishing a well functional dialysis center there in Nevis sooner rather than later, and at least one, if not more. She says that is a vital medical need for many, and they shouldn't have to travel far for what is already a stressful process to go through several times per week. Burlby Jones says, Burlby Jones says, keep DJ Marisha and his family in your prayers. His pops fell sick earlier on this week. I wonder if his match came off today in Bastille. Best wishes to DJ Marisha and his family. So yes, from us here on the platform, want to send some, blessings and prayers and so on across to DJ Marisha and his family, and also to anybody going through, tough times at this time, and those who are grieving and mourning and all that. We want to, from this platform, let you know that we're here with you. Spyflix says, oh, sorry, hit the thumbs up before you sign off. So we want to encourage folks, all of you who are here, if it's one thing we're asking you for to take 10 seconds. Go on over to the YouTube platform, subscribe to the platform, click on the notification bell, and like and share. So share the link to as many persons as possible. We're not asking you for money. We're not asking for a donation. We're just asking you to go over to the YouTube, click on the notification bell. That will help us a great bit. And so we're just asking for that little 10 seconds gone over. And we also want to say a very special thank you to Islander Water Sports on the Rocks, Shabazz Organics, and Imperial Rides Taxi and Tours. Bankie, you're closing.
Yes, and I just want to thank Niah again for coming on and sharing his wealth of knowledge and expertise as usual across any topics. And Niah, everyone who growing up as a youth with Marcel and Wang and all them guys. And he was not one of those persons who going to run you from around his shop. He's always welcoming and easy to talk to, and just that role model. And still doing what he loved doing. I mean, when in high school, he's the one who would come and speak when he come to, and to speak about history of Africa and stuff like that. He always welcoming his time to educate all in the high school area, fifth form area. He's that person. So he's one of always, and this is why you hear me come and speak and say, we have a lot of heroes within our community in the Virgin, but we only tend to put this thing on the brotherhood of politicians. The everyday heroes throughout the community, like Niah's, nurses, retired nurses, people working in the public areas, backward drivers, fishermen, but we're not naming the areas them off our people. We forgetting our people who contribute. Everyday people who build this, the natives who build this place here is not getting recognition. You know, the drive through forces to say, I can name after palm this and palm that, and all these different experts places that Virgin with us. A willful acts, and we, as Boba just said, we bright and we docile. We docile, bright in what book sense, passing a test, good at these things, and we watch our leaders and those who put there to manage, giving away our country to those who have the money because of whatever reason it is. Make no sense, Virgin. Just want to thank those who continue listening and choose your entertainment network. Greatly appreciate you guys sticking with us. It shows. I mean, remember, if you guys have topics you want us to touch also, you can also, when you see me, you can speak on this topic. If you have a guest, we should interview. This approach, it's a community show, and the collective work together. You guys have proven it. You guys have put their foot to the fire by supporting what I'm doing and stand behind me, and you force the ecclesiastic office to open up, and those who want to go and get their 5 trees, these things are available for them. What we don't need is them to charge $100. They're cutting us again. So we speak out about the $100. Remember, you do not have to register under the Rastafari Act. The word say may. Okay? May. Rastafari groups, the group that you come up. Can you see the issue is when we prefer cast and cover never take back after 1980 the government to court. But right now, but we're holding foot to the fire still because the time they not money $100 and the money not going through these certain accounts. So we're gonna talk up. So fix these things and respect people rights. And still advocating the police them don't need to have no gun pan them. What are doing now harassing people over smoking? Well, we don't want to see no grill light up then. And on the old vehicle that smoke, no smoky be, when you lock down all the coal pit. Me not understand that car coal is something needed for barbecue. So those who at the highest who say with all these things make no sense. What gonna happen, These bars that they have out here gonna shut down. That's what they want, But they not talk about alcohol. I wanted to speak about alcohol, the number one thing that is on the agenda. Look around us, we are alcohol drinking community. Whatever wine they want call it and eating cheese and all this different stuff. Rum, we build the economy one year. Rum. And that's what they not touch. Because all they partake in it. The lady come over there this weekend and said alcohol is number one on the chart in the Virgin. And they had preacher and advocate and the same way about tobacco and touch. The medical is the one to go make money off her. See the can as nice soft. And I love that how I put it to soft. Weak. So folks, next week Tuesday, we're having our guests and the topics, Dwyer Astafan. Definitely looking forward for that reasoning with Dwyer. He had made his contribution also, have a lot to say on all these different topics we will be speaking about. Always definitely listen to his weekly critique and what's going on within the community. So, Dwyer, I want to give thanks for accepting my invitation. Greatly appreciated. Did not have to. So really appreciate that. Also trying to get out the other people on of time. So, folks, thanks for choosing Real Entertainment and the topics, another special edition of the topic with my boy Niah. Niah is a legend, you know. I want to see some roads and some monument go up and respect this man. And let me say this, Niah is one of those who left back own who doing, okay, blacksmithing. So not just man that's a welder, man is a blacksmith. So let that me know he's one of those blacksmith that continue carrying that tradition. So whatever you want antique thing make, he can make them all hinge, whatever it is. And so people would know stuff like that. But I grew up in Codec Road, I own Williams, but I still continue that tradition of blacksmith, hash, shoes, whatever you want. This thing. Niah, big up yourself as usual. You keep it humble as usual. And as they said, yeah, rich. You have the number of dollars that can put on the eye. You know? And they knows that. You see it? So keep it in the journey. Great. Your son?
Yeah, man. Enough respect, man. Enough respect and enough respect, Niah. You know, I will close with my little rant. In my little rant, I will respond to the servant being called to serve, and it is what he says, honorable to call to serve, but honorable in calling to serve who? Because when we look at who these people play allegiance to and what they seek to uphold, we have to really question, is it really an honor for them to serve, and who they are serving? Because these people are people who come from the same society like me and you, same household, backyard, same community, but they have opted to seek to maintain a system that was designed to oppress the masses. And they know that when they play allegiance, what they are playing allegiance to. And so they should be serving us, but they play allegiance to serve somebody else and demonstrates that. And that is why we have some of the issues that we have, and why we are now having to be holding them accountable for things that they should have been doing but are not doing because they never really sign on to do it for us. And these are the challenges that we are going to have to continue to struggle with. And Rastafari would have identified this pretty early in life. And that is one of the reasons why Rastafari was hated so much and was fought against so much. It wasn't so much that we were criminals, because we were not criminals. It was not that we were a threat to society in the sense of being violent. We were a threat to their system, which they wanted to continue to perpetuate. And we realized that that system was never designed for us. And so these are some of the challenges that we have. And so, you know, with that said, I'm just going to say, give thanks to Islander Water Sports and On the Rocks, and, you know, Imperial Rides, Taxi and Tours, and Shabazz Organics for another exciting edition of the Topiks. And we look forward to having you next week, Tuesday, when we have Dwyer Astafan on the platform. And I want to say thanks to people like former top cop here in the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis, C.J. Walwyn, who has been listening to us over there in Texas. He is one of the big cops over there in Texas right now, and we are going to be looking to have him on the platform where we could have some discussion. We could have some discussion on crime and, you know, his efforts while he was here in the Federation. And he has some views where cannabis is concerned. He actually would have sent me some information in terms of the cannabis declaration that has been made in the Eastern Caribbean. And so we're going to have some discussions, and then we're going to seek for a time to have him on the platform. So there's a number of things that's going to be coming your way. Dwyer Astafan next week, and very shortly we'll announce when we have CG Walwyn on the platform with us. And so we want to say thanks to everybody. Thanks to Real Entertainment Network team, Ira, and all the folks behind the scenes. I mean, we have gone overtime. It's family time. You got things to do on a Friday evening. But I want to say thanks to everybody too who have stick and stay with us and are here still. Just remember to go over to the YouTube platform before you leave. Subscribe. Click on the notification bell so that you're informed every time that we have a platform, a program. Niah, Bankie, everybody, enough love, guidance, and protection. See you guys next week, Tuesday. Monday, when we have quality time with Alan, you definitely check out that program where Alan, go back to some of these programs and, highlight some of the things that are going on internationally and talk on them. And then Tuesday, we'll be back with another edition of the Topiks. Enough love, everybody, guidance, and protection.
At Shabazz Organics, we believe real people deserve real food. So we're bringing you to Mansa's Last Stop, a farm where food barriers are removed and legacy is sustained. We believe there's power in picking, so we allow you to decide what leaves the farm and enters your kitchen organically.
Beat the summer heat, come and get your carambola, star fruit, make very nice drink. Come pick them yourself. All the trees them full of vitamin C, antioxidant, build up your immune system. Mine's the last stop. A whole shopping bag for only $10. Half a shopping bag you pay $5. If you get $2, you must get some. Come get your carambola. Don't want to go to wait. Let's go, people.
When comfort, class, and reliability matter, choose the ride that delivers more. Imperial Rides Transportation Services, where every journey is treated like royalty. From airport transfers, private events, shopping trips, island tours, and executive travel, Imperial Rides moves you in style, clean, comfortable, on time, every time. Book your premium taxi or tour service today. Call or WhatsApp 869-665-8459 or email elandflavas@gmail.com. Imperial Rides Transportation Services. Your journey, our priority.